Hey boss, I got an idea for a new family movie. Oh, we love a good family movie at Disney. Shoot. Okay, so it's about this boy who befriends a quirky, if slightly odd girl who moves to his middle school in his area. Interesting. And they start to warm up to each other and create this fantasy world to get away from all the neglect they're feeling in the real world and because they're social outcasts. Oh, that's quite sad actually. But sure, why not? Tell me more. Well, that's it really. Oh yeah, and then one day the girl swings across the rope which leads to a magic world where it snaps and she dies. What? Yeah. And the main boy, Jesse, who was starting to fall in love with her, feels so regretful for not being there for her and he's heartbroken. But she wasn't actually dead, right? We could revive her in a sequel, maybe. No, she's dead. Oh, okay. You know this is supposed to be a kids' movie, right? I could probably name you a fair few movies, books, and shows I've cried to in my short life thus far, but I could also barely name you any Disney movies that I've cried to in my life thus far. Other than maybe Big Hero 6. Well, guess what? That all changed a couple nights ago. Because it turns out I was blissfully unaware of one Disney movie that might actually be the saddest of them all. And after watching it, oh yes, I can confirm that, holy crap, Bridge to Terabithia might be the saddest thing I've ever watched. I honestly don't think I've ever cried so hard because of a movie in my entire life. And to make it worse, apparently it's a film that everyone watched in their childhood. What? How have I not known about this? Although it might actually be for the better because, yeah, if I was a wreck, a blubbering wreck, watching this right now when I'm in my latter teenage years, I cannot imagine what I would have been like watching this as a kid. And Bridge to Terabithia was more than just a sad movie for me. It was also a film that reminded me of my childhood in a sense, not necessarily because of the characters or anything, but because of just the old school setting in middle school with the corny insults, downright horrible bullies, and more. And just quickly here, a bit off the topic, the portrayal of middle schools in the old Disney films, especially. I mean, what, what the hell? As a Brit, honestly, going to one of these schools would be my worst nightmare. Why is every single kid such an asshole? Like, I hate them. I genuinely hate all of these little shits. These schools seem like literal hell on earth, these middle schools. But anyways, yes, I guess it did sort of take me back to when I used to watch these films and shows like that all of the time, chiefly from Disney, when they were actually producing good movies. There's a certain sense of nostalgia, I guess, is the best way to put it, in watching Bridge to Terabithia for the first time at my age. Also, a portion of that will probably come from the idea of creating your own world to escape to, where you can do anything and be anything, fight monsters, be the rulers of the land, just have some fun. That's, yeah, definitely a big part of it for me. But oh, this film hit me so hard, guys. Like, I was a mess. Not even kidding, I finished the film at 3 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday. I started at maybe quarter past one, and I got hooked by characters like Jesse, like Leslie, and by the story immediately, and then subsequently paid the price as I was left in tears. I mean, floods of tears at 3 a.m. Which I have no problems with admitting, honestly, that Bridge to Terabithia made me cry because it did. It hit me so hard. It struck something deep within me. And so, unlike I might be when admitting I cried for another film, I have no issues with saying it and talking about it for Bridge to Terabithia because, like I said, it hit hard. And it genuinely felt like this film and all the other people behind it carved open my chest, took out my heart, cut it into tiny pieces, put it back in, closed the chest again, leaving it a complete mess with my mangled remains inside to process the emotions I was feeling because of this movie. So, anyways, let's talk about Bridge to Terabithia then. Why shall we not? Why this film is so sad and definitely not a kids' movie in any sense, and why I just love it so much. And yes, I've already rewatched it less than 48 hours later. I will not apologize for that. So firstly, before I get into it, there are timestamps on the video and if you want to jump around to a certain part, because firstly, I'm going to talk about the tragedy of Bridge to Terabithia, so mainly the ending, but also throughout the film, with characters like Janice, who was actually abused by her dad. Yeah, that also happens in this film. Also the neglect that both Jesse and Leslie have to face within their life, and because of course, how they, could we not, the tragedy of Leslie's death, and how it left me feeling like I'd been shot. Then after that, we'll talk about how the actual movie and why it's so good, at least for me, and just see where we go from there. But without any further ado, make sure you're subscribed. It would really help this growing channel and community. Let's get started with the tragedy of Bridge to Terabithia. Buckle in, people. So, Bridge to Terabithia as a film is more than just a tale of imagination and how important of a tool it can be for not just children, but anyone. Also, the importance of kindness is a big part of the story, if you ask me, especially concerning Janice, who we'll talk about afterwards, but also in Leslie and Jesse's friendship. Kindness was a big part of it, helping each other out in school and to get away from the struggles of real life. It was Jesse's kindness, or perhaps the lack of it, that arguably caused Leslie's death when he chose not to invite her to the museum with Miss Edmonds. Which, wow, that feeling is still sharp, knowing how different everything could have been if Jesse had invited Leslie, or he'd, maybe not let his jealousy, is that the word? I'm not sure, get the better of him. Which, by the way, can we just talk about this for a second? The fact that Jesse, a 12 to 13-year-old boy in middle school, I'm not sure, gets a call on the weekend on a Saturday morning from a female teacher at his school, which is odd enough to begin with, but she then invites him to go to a museum with her. What? You're telling me that a teacher calls a not even teenage student yet and just takes him on a whim for a private field trip on the weekend? No, that's breaking some safeguarding rules or something. That is just not okay. I mean, come on. No one else getting weird vibes from that. Well, I did actually find one fan theory online which proves that someone else did get weird vibes from it, which is probably the craziest, most outlandish theory I've ever heard, but I don't mind it. And that is that Leslie didn't actually die because, of the rope snapping and she hit her head and drowned in the river, but rather Miss Edmonds killed her because guess why? Miss Edmonds is a paedophile who wants to groom Jesse. What? I'm sorry. Just seriously? This is an actual theory, by the way. I mean, I don't. Well, okay, I do mind it, but this is someone really wrote this. I mean, I thought that the relationship between Miss Edmonds and Jesse was weird, and Miss Edmonds kind of forced it a bit. But that was a theory I did not think I was going to hear at all, like ever in my life. I won't go too deep into it though, because I might make a separate video for it. So be on the lookout for a video regarding the potential paedophilic behavior of Miss Edmonds and her murder of Leslie. But hey, it's all good looking back on it now, saying what Jesse could have done differently. But please, let's finally get back to the film before getting too far off track, and let's talk about just all the adult themes in this movie, because there are so many of them, it's actually unbelievable for a kids' film. Firstly, one of the main driving forces behind Jesse creating this imaginary world was the way he was neglected, forgotten by his family. I mean, his mum couldn't care less about him and probably wants nothing to do with him, whilst his dad throughout the film is just hating on him and showing such blatant favoritism to Jesse's younger sister being too busy coddling her. It's definitely sad to see this, but oh, it gets worse, my friend. No, it gets much worse. Because one of the other characters, Janice sorry. I almost said Janice Overy. Janice Avery, the classic middle school bully, was not yet only a horrible person, but was actually abused physically by her dad all the time. What? What? I am at a loss as to how this movie is for kids. Also, the fact that this entire imaginary world Jesse and Leslie created wasn't because they were bored or because they wanted to destroy monsters or anything like that, no. But rather, it was a byproduct of the neglect they faced, being social outcasts, the bullying at school, even their own family. And you might argue against that with Leslie, as we see her, very clearly having a good time and having fun with her parents whilst painting the house. And it's clear that they do love her. But also, don't forget how Leslie says that whenever they're writing their book, they lock themselves away for a very long time. They leave her on her own with no siblings, quite similar to, Jessie. But you know what? I love it. I think it's a really good thing that Disney and all the good film companies at the time were able to do. They were able to create movies that kids could enjoy, but adults at the same time could be equally drawn in by them. It was just brilliant art that Disney in particular used to be such masters at. But they would create a kids' film that incorporates so many mature, heavy themes into it that an adult would have no problem enjoying it either. Think The Incredibles, Toy Story 2, Pocahontas, Holes, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Inside Out, Wall-E, all such good movies for all ages, the very young, the older generation, and us lot somewhere in between. And Bridge to Terabithia, without a doubt, falls into that category because of just how sad it is, and not just sad, but also how mature it is with some of the themes. Also, one thing that I think that does make Bridge to Terabithia even more tragic than it already is the fact that we don't actually get a happy ending, which is very unlike Disney films. With every single film that I just listed as being mature before, they all result in a happy ending for the most part, but Bridge to Terabithia just doesn't do that. It leaves you, or well, at least left me, saddened still by Leslie's death, and it leaves the main character Jesse clearly regretting his actions, struggling to come to terms with it most likely, but still fighting to move on. At best, it's a bittersweet ending, but with very little sweet to it. And I'll tell you what, I said I finished this movie at 3 o'clock in the morning. I literally did not want to go to sleep after that. But moving on then, because even though there is more that I want to say, I think I'll save it for now so that, I can talk about it maybe in a couple of future videos I want to do for Bridge to Terabithia. So if you are enjoying up until this point and you do want to see more, make sure to keep your eyes peeled for that and tell me in the comments. So now, let's discuss the actual movie. And right off the bat, I have to say, what a film it actually is. Outside of the tragedy of all, which no doubt pushes up the rating for me a bit and for everyone, Bridge to Terabithia is still such an excellent movie. The relationship Jesse and Leslie have, which I cannot believe I haven't talked about yet, because it is so well executed. The way they start to warm up to each other, becoming proper friends, sharing hugs, exchanging gifts, all that. You see this slow build up of their relationship, and it starts to blossom. It starts to blossom into something more, maybe even love, which Jesse, you can see, he sees. He sees it, he realizes it the day before she dies. And oh god, I'm actually getting kind of emotional saying this right now. No, really, I actually am. It's like I said, this film stabbed me right in the heart. Give me a second. Okay, I've recovered, but back to it. Yeah, their relationship was just so beautiful, and I regret that it wasn't able to progress so much, but hey, it is what it is. That's just life, I guess. Although I do like to think that Jesse was able to move on from that, but still always remembered Leslie as a girl who opened his eyes to all the possibility of the world around him, of using his imagination. In terms of other parts of the story, I do have to point out that the CGI, it's not amazing. I mean, some things are definitely not great, but here for a 2007 Disney film, I guess I shouldn't have really expected much better. But here, other than a couple wide shots of Terabithia, which were really nice, overall the CGI could have really done with some improving. But hey, that's just one issue in a brilliant movie. By the way, Leslie was just my favorite character in any movie slash show I've watched in recent times. I mean, she seems like the coolest person ever and would be the perfect friend. But then she died, so maybe I guess not. And oh my god, one thing that made me lose it was we found the meme. The meme. Jesse's sister. She makes that face on the bus. That's the meme. I've seen it so many times, but never knew what it was, and it was such a surprise, such a welcome one, as Palpatine would say, to see where the meme originated from, because you see it all over the place. I don't even know what the meme's called, but yeah, we saw that in the film, and mind blown. Also, seeing a young Josh Hutcherson was really cool before the Hunger Games, and his acting is just honestly so good, which is something I do have to credit Anna Sophia Robb and Josh Hutcherson for. There was such good acting all throughout this film, which isn't always something you see with young actors in a film like this, especially the 2000s Disney films. Some of the acting was terrible from people older than them, but these two knocked it out of the park, and I'm telling you, their dynamic had me sold, and then had me crying. But on that sad note, which actually probably sums up this video pretty well and my emotions for the last couple of days, I am going to close out this video. Thanks for watching up until this point. If you have, be on the lookout for, a couple of other Bridge to Terabithia related videos in the next couple of weeks if you're interested, which I imagine you are if you stayed all the way until the end. Also, make sure to tell me in the comments your own experiences with this film, with Bridge to Terabithia, as a kid, as a teen, whenever you watched it. But if it didn't make you cry, then let me tell you right now, you are a soulless monster. Just joking, it means you're more resilient than me. Because, like I emphasized in this video, I cried alright. At 3 a.m. in the dark on my own. So that's fun. But anyways, that's the end of today's video. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching. Darth Sauron, out.